Hey guys, welcome back to another Virgo Girl recommendation. And today we're going to be talking about Fatal Attraction versus the new reboot series, Fatal Attraction. Now, I mean, let's just get straight to the point when it comes to remakes and reboots and all these different things that they keep doing with older classics. Personally, I don't think I've ever seen a reboot or you know, a remake or what have you of a classic that really came back better, if you will. I thought The Best Man, when they came back and did that series, it was really good. That one was a good one. However, it was the same characters pretty much and the same type of theme. So it wasn't like they were coming back like how this situation is. Right now we have Fatal Attraction, which is, first of all, you can't redo Fatal Attraction. You can't, there's certain things you just can't redo. You can't redo Fatal Attraction. You can't redo the Titanic. There's just certain movies, you're just not going to be able to remake them because it's already been done and they did it right the first time. They don't need any help with anything when it comes to those movies. And you don't need to come back. The ending was the ending and it ended the way it ended for a reason. It ended. That's it. So for me, I thought the reboot on Fatal Attraction was not very good. I also thought that the acting in it, I didn't see the chemistry. I think my biggest complaint with the reboot is, or the series, or whatever you want to call it, the Fatal Attraction one, that one, it just didn't have Fatal Attraction 2023 is what I'm referring to for anyone who doesn't know. Fatal Attraction is a movie, the original Fatal Attraction is a movie that was done a very, very, very long time ago. I believe it was done in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. And actually, let me just fact check that while I'm checking that. This one was done in 1987. So a very, very long time ago. The times were different. Everything was different. I mean, they had actual home phones in this movie where, the roller dial phone, this was 87. So a very long time ago. It was just a whole different era. The stigma, everything about cheating, just everything for that period that it was made, it was like perfection. You had Glenn Close, a young Glenn Close. You had Michael Douglas, who at that time, Michael Douglas was in the prime of his career. He was like a sex symbol at that time, good looking man. You had the beautiful Ann Archer, who also was younger at this time, her and Glenn Close. So all of these people were younger, this was their era. And but at the same time they still were really, really, really good actors. I mean, you could see the chemistry between Ann Archer and Michael Douglas, the chemistry between um, Glenn Close and Michael Douglas. It was so, so, so intense. You could feel it through the screen. I believed it. I was there. I lived it. I wasn't there at the movies when it came out, but I'm saying like you felt it when you watched it. Um, I feel that with the new one, I don't see any of that. I'm not getting any of the chemistry. I don't see any of the chemistry. Basically, it's not as intense. I feel that there was one scene in Fatal Attraction where, and I have to warn you guys, this particular this particular video is going to have some spoilers just because I'm just doing something a little different with this one. I'm trying to explain why I don't feel like reboots are necessary for most films and most shows. They almost never, ever meet the standards of the first one. They all, even, it's just, and a lot of times they're just simply unnecessary. We need to get to a point where people are being creative and coming up with new things that are good, just like the people did back then. That's the real key, I feel, that that I'm trying to, that's the point I'm trying to make. I want to see some fresh new things, and I don't want to see people building on things that people did years ago. I want to see new and creative things that are just as good as those things, but they're new and fresh. At any rate, when you look at the chemistry between Michael Douglas and his daughter, even in the movie back in 1987, the way they had the daughter's haircut, they had her haircut like in a way that stood out. Like it was just everything from her haircut to the way she dressed to the way Michael Douglas walked, to the way he moved, his his motions, the way Glenn Close's mannerisms were, just the every little thing that she did, she owned that role. Michael Douglas owned that role. His daughter owned that role. Anne Archer owned that role. I believed that that was his wife. I believed that that was his daughter for real. Like it was just, the acting was superb. The way the little girl made facial expressions when she was playing cards, like how, I mean, she was so young. How was she able to make those expressions and be so real with it? She was a really great actress. Shout out to that little girl, because I mean, I just watched Fatal Attraction, the 1987 one, uh, yesterday, I believe it was, and that I finished it. Yeah, but yeah, it was yesterday, and I feel like, man, the acting was so good. And then you compare it to the reboot. It's like if you're gonna redo something, you really need to bring it, and if you don't, then it's like, what was the point? So I honestly, the reboot, I was not really feeling it. I feel like for what it was okay, but I just, if you're good, I feel like it should have been super intense. I needed to be so intense that I was jumping out of my seat. And I just didn't feel that. Also, as far as the characters, Glenn Close, Michael Douglas, they were like, these were like the sex symbols of their day, and or what have you. I believe, I don't know. That was like before my time, but I'm saying I do believe that for that time they picked, like the hottest people because they wanted a steamy romance. That's what I'm guessing. For this Fatal Attraction cast, I just, I just really wasn't, everything about, I wasn't really feeling it. The lady that played Alex, it just, everything about this cast, the guy that played Michael Douglas's part, Joshua Jackson, not saying that these people aren't good looking people, but they just aren't good looking people together. Like it just didn't go well together. It wasn't a good matchup. And then you put in Amanda Peet in the mix, along to be the wife. I don't see how this was cohesive at all. I didn't get enough chemistry between any of these people, even with the daughter that they chose for him. Nothing about this really brought the chemistry that I wanted to see from something like Fatal Attraction. Because, Fatal Attraction, this is the movie where the lady is cooking a rabbit. I mean, come on. We're talking psycho. So, yeah, when I watched Fatal Attraction, I was screaming at my TV, oh my God, this lady's crazy. Oh my God, oh my God. Like I was screaming the whole time. When I was watching the reboot, my mind started to wander. I just didn't get the same feeling. So I say all this to say, Fatal Attraction, the original, did not in any way, shape, form, or fashion needed to be brought back in 2023 in the form that it was brought back in this series. On a more positive note, I will say I did like how, if I'm going to give a positive critique on anything, um, I would say I liked how you guys, um, I didn't mean to say positive critique, sorry. If I'm going to, give anything, a positive feedback is what I meant to say. But the positive feedback I have on the new one is that the lady who played Alex Foster, Alex Forrest, she, they dug back and kind of like showed you how her day-to-day life, like how she was behaving. So clearly this lady had a mental issue, just the way she dealt with people, just how she was rubbing people the wrong way, just how her mind thought that people should react to her in certain situations. I did like that. I like how they kind of, because with the other Alex, we knew she was crazy, or, you know, just there was definitely some mental issues there, but we didn't know anything about her background. We didn't know how she kind of like interacted with other people aside from, like, I remember Dan's coworker, she was rude to him. But aside from that, we didn't get to see her daily life, like in her apartment and things like that. So I thought it was kind of cool that they kind of dug into like the fact that this lady was just unstable all around in her day-to-day life, as well as in her, you know, her relationship with Dan. Because some people, they're okay, you know, but they just freak out. Like when they fall in love with someone, they just kind of lose it. So it's kind of cool to see that side of it. And, you know, I think one thing about Fatal Attraction, I feel like anyone who's ever been in love before, or, you know, like been crazy in love with someone, the movie really shows you um, an extreme side of that. Like, I'm sure we've all been in love, but no one has goes to that extreme. It also, one thing I learned about that movie too, what I thought was beautiful, and this, I'm speaking of the original, I loved how his wife was just herself. She was just, you know, they showed her, yes, she was a beautiful woman, but she was also more conservative, more, you know, um, like, you know, look more like a wife and a mother and things like that, while still being beautiful. On the other hand, they had Glenn Close with a wild, like, blonde perm, you know, and her whole situation was totally different. She didn't have kids, etc. But the one thing I did like was that it showed you that in life, you may be like basically the side chick. Like she was fun for the moment, but that guy had no intentions at all of leaving his wife. He still loved his wife. He had no intentions of altering the life he had with the woman he loved, you know, in any way to be with the Alex. And Alex couldn't get her mind around that because it was like a one-sided thing. So it kind of like teaches you, like in life, you know, you be very careful what you get yourself into, because Alex was fully aware that this man was married. So for her to even go there with him was a very poor choice on both parts, of course. But you know, on her part, she could have just said, "Oh no, I'm not interested in a married man," and that would have been that. But she decided to take the plunge. Lots of times, people convince themselves that they can take a married man away from his family, which is crazy. But yeah, a lot of people feel that in their hearts that, hey, I'm better than the wife, I'm this, I'm that. And, you know, even, you know, in the rare chances that they do succeed in taking the husband, it almost never ends up positive, you know, like it's just never a positive situation when you do something like that, for the most part. It usually doesn't work out because, especially like when you look at the situation, this wasn't a man who was saying, yeah, me and my wife are separated, or my wife, anything negative. He was pretty much like, I'm married, you know, and there was no issues. You know, he was just, you know, I guess wanting to have a good time for that weekend. He made a mistake for sure, but he wasn't, he had no intentions and had no issues with, you know, the wife that he had at home. That's where he wanted to be, kind of thing. But, you know, he let temptation get the best of him, kind of. And he should have never been there with her either. But, you know, it's kind of is what it is. I just feel like Alex lost her mind when she realized that this man was not going to bend or be with her. It was just so crazy to me. Like, I couldn't believe how she behaved and how she, what she did to the family, and how she, you know, was just, oh my God, so relentless. Like, he told her multiple times it was over, but she just could not understand that. So I just thought that was crazy. I would never want that situation, have to deal with a situation like that. That would be crazy to have to, you know, deal with a situation where the person just does not get it. So, lesson of the day, believe someone when they tell you how they feel. If someone says they don't want you, they don't want you. And move on. It's better to be with someone who wants you than to be in a crazy fatal attraction situation or anything close to that. But at any rate, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I just kind of wanted to talk about the comparisons between the two. I don't think the second one was needed. The first one was a classic and an amazing film. I'm going to go ahead and go now, guys. Until next time, don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Peace.